and I am here presenting my project on food deserts. So I'm just going to go ahead and start about talking about the problem. So the American Nutrition Association defines a food desert as an area lacking in fresh fruits, vegetables, and a wide variety of healthful foods. And as it turns out, 2.3 million households in the US live more than a mile away from a grocery store, and they're considered living in a food desert. Um, so basically, a lot of these households, they are from low-income neighborhoods, and they often experience a lack of cars. And because the grocery stores that do have healthy food are so far away, they don't have the resources to get there. They don't have a car. They may not have the money to pay for a bus to take them out there. And honestly, it's just kind of inconvenient that these families have to go sometimes an hour away just to get healthy food. There are 4 times more supermarkets in white neighborhoods than there are in African American neighborhoods, and that has become a big problem too. In Louisville, 3.6 of families live in a food desert, and that's kind of my reasoning behind choosing this project. My internship that I have this semester is in a neighborhood that is located in a food desert, and just seeing that the problems that those families have and just the lack of healthy food that they have is was kind of sad to me, and I just thought that this would be a good way to incorporate my internship with my social toolkit project. So my project goals, it was to find a new source of healthy food that can be brought to these neighborhoods. And often, since like a lot of times these neighborhoods don't have healthy food options, they they have adults with higher risks of cancer, of heart disease, of diabetes, and these children are just being raised in areas that don't have healthy food, which leads them to have all of these health problems in the future. So these neighborhoods are just full of just unhealthy adults and unhealthy communities. And so just being able to bring in a new source of healthy food was one of my goals. And the next one is to create a community garden in a low-income neighborhood in Louisville. So after doing some research in bigger cities, a community garden is a really good way to get community members involved in this process and kind of letting them see like where their healthy food can come from and just how much more affordable it can be. Because a big problem is that when these local corner stores do have healthy foods, they are often sometimes 3 or 4 times the price that it would be in a supermarket in normal neighborhoods. So I'd also, for a third goal of this project, was to address the lack of grocery stores in low-income neighborhoods on a community leader level. So basically just talking to local politicians and just government in Kentucky and just kind of helping them understand why this is such a big issue and what can be done. So my feedback on the project was to kind of look more into systematic racism and how that's affecting grocery stores in these neighborhoods. I was focusing more on how to bring healthy food to the people in these neighborhoods and not as much as like why it wasn't there in the first place. So it has been shown that the neighborhoods that are experiencing food deserts are often African American neighborhoods, and a lot of this goes back to the fact of like our mapping project that we did earlier in the semester. You'll see that these neighborhoods were pushed out and that they've always had a lack of resources, whether it was doctors or schools. And now even today, they're still lacking grocery stores. So I think an important part of this project is to look in how that racism is playing into today and how we can fight that. So there is a day at the Capitol that involves focusing on hunger. And I think that would be a really good way to bring this awareness to Louisville. And also to look into more fundings for projects in Louisville that already exist. I did look into how dollars could be given or little coupons. So like when a certain amount of healthy food is purchased, a lot of cities will give coupons for other food and kind of like double their SNAP or their WIC. And this is a really good way to kind of motivate people to just buy those healthy food products. So by looking into funding how projects like this could take off, and also mobile markets, Kroger offers a mobile market, and so kind of finding the funding for things like this to come into these neighborhoods would be a really good way to end food deserts in Louisville. And also, I did make an Instagram page, and then just to find new ways to market the Instagram page was another suggestion. So I did talk a lot about how I would give facts about food deserts and the areas that the mobile market would be on certain days through this Instagram page, but I didn't really talk about how I'm going to market that page to people. So I think maybe finding a new way to market the Instagram page would be a really good way to strengthen this project. So for my logic model, the inputs would be finding more funding, finding volunteers to run the community garden, and then also like finding the community partnerships that would be willing to do the mobile markets. And so the outputs would be the community gardens, the mobile markets, the Instagram, the coupons, and I think all of this would lead to just healthier families and grocery stores in all areas. I am like at the bottom, it says like the long-term goals would be to put an end to the systematic racism, make resources available in all neighborhoods. While this is a huge goal, it's extremely necessary, and it's honestly going to be one of the only ways that we can completely end food deserts. So just for short-term goals leading up to that would be to just provide healthy food options in these neighborhoods, whether it is through a community garden or a mobile market, whether those are small, simple ways that may only bring healthy food into these areas for a short amount of time. It would still be a good start into letting them know their options and that there are people out there who want to bring them healthy food. So in conclusion, just overall, I think by eliminating food deserts, our community would have healthier families, and parents wouldn't have to struggle when deciding what to feed their family. Families in food deserts often have to feed their kids processed, sugary, fatty foods, and those have also been shown to cause problems in concentration. They have problems during school. They don't have the energy to last them all day. And this is just like a really huge problem for these kids growing up in these neighborhoods. And also, I think by ending food deserts, we would also take a really big stab at ending systematic racism and how neighborhoods, whether they're low income, whether they're African American neighborhoods, no matter what, they're all going to have the resources that they need, because nobody should be without healthy food or good school systems or doctors. So whether this is, we start out with food or something else, I think that just these are really good projects to put an end to systematic racism in our communities. So that was my social toolkit project, and I hope that just maybe even by making the small changes of mobile markets or corner stores having healthier options, hopefully one day that we can bring more healthy options to these neighborhoods and food deserts can be put to an end. Thank you.